the future depends on entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
Especially our continent.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's really it. Overcome your own fears, jump over your own shadow, and be great.
And these are the words we live by and give each other every day. So like it's just like always just
vibes. Yes.
It's not vibes. It's not like everything is done. We have the normal business problems too. We got cash flow issues. We got this. We got that. It's not all sun and roses. Days get dark. There's some great wins, and there's some. Some losses along the way, and it's like, you just manage and you fight. And this is not just like advice that we're giving out because we got it figured out. No, it's advice that we take in every day to fuel ourselves, and we hope that it fuels you.
We got it next. That's how you finesse. We come for they next. We come to collect. Did it all on my own, When it brought it back home, Now they calling my phone, But I'm all in my zone. They not a threat. Tell them reset. When they're at their best, we still not impressed. Did it all on my own, When it brought it back home, Bought a watch with the stones,
Right before we start, we want to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Chapter. Chapter ensures that your online business never sleeps. We started Chapter when you realize that businesses use social media to talk to their customers, and they end up losing up to 40% of their sales due to abandoned carts. This happens when a customer DMs you on Instagram, a customer sends you a message on WhatsApp, and you're not able to respond within 7 minutes. This then leads the customer to look for another business to look for that particular good or service that you're offering. With Chapter, you can be able to elevate the customer experience by running AI agents that can be able to respond to customers in less than 30 seconds on both Instagram and WhatsApp. If you want to make sure your business never sleeps, if you want to make sure that you can increase the revenue you're able to make by up to 5x, just visit www.chapter.co and we'll be able to help you. So that's Chapter without an A, so chpter.co, and we'll be able to turn your business into a business that will thrive in the AI future.
So hello champions, we're back yet again with another episode of your favorite African entrepreneurship podcast. And today we're joined by the co-founders, partners at Butan. And you know how it is, we are bringing all the best stories from your favorite entrepreneurs, and you get to learn about their journeys and how they got to build these really successful businesses and get to impact the continent. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that so that you're notified when the next episode drops. But for now, let me introduce our amazing guests. We have Julian and Lebo in the house. Yes. And so we'll start with Julian. So Julian is the co-founder and creative director of LSJ Clothing and Merchandising, which is a parent company of the streetwear brand Butan and the apparel agency Thread 60. So he comes from a mechanical engineering background, and he'll tell us how he ended up in entrepreneurship. And his journey really epitomizes the fusion of technical acumen and creative ambition. So that makes him a standard leader in the South African apparel industry. And he partnered with Mr. Lebo, Sugars Max, who's a rapper, an actor, an entrepreneur, and is best known as a co-founder and the star of the iconic local hip-hop brand, Squatter Camp.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited to hear about that journey as well. So you're a musician, artist, turned entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So that's also going to be really cool to hear.
Yeah.
So I'll start by asking a super basic question, but not too basic, which is, who is Lebo? Who is Julian? So just your background.
I think simple, man. On my side, Lebogang, Mothibe, aka Sugar Smacks. I think it's just I'm a creative. I enjoy the creative space. In the same breath, I enjoy the entrepreneurial space. So if I guess a creative entrepreneur, or an entrepreneur who also is a creative at the same breath, that's who I am. And I think I actually believe that all businesses are actually creative. at its core. So whether you are building a house, you know, or whether you are building a business, it takes up a certain amount of creativity. You have to find the location, you need to design the store, what's going to stand out, everything. So I'm like, actually, there's creativity in everything, you know. So and then of course then there's business. So I think like the two can actually not be separated.
That's cool. Before we go to Julian, what's your favorite life or business quote?
My favorite life or business quote.
Yeah, something you live by, or philosophy.
I think like number one, the basic thing. I'll keep it basic because it's just top of mind. Like I mean, sure. Like I mean, what doesn't kill you, you know, makes you strong. You know, and I mean, I mean, I guess it'll boil down to like plan, you know, pray and pursue.
Nice.
You know, that's it, you know. And then I'll go with that one for now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Julian, who's Julian?
Yeah, man. So just obviously hearing Lebo speak, it's very similar for me. You know, I'm also a creative entrepreneur. I would say even a creative cultural entrepreneur, which I never really knew existed until recently when I was part of the incubator program, which I'll also talk about. But I would say I'm very much a right-left brain kind of person. And it's something that I've had to learn to sort of master. Yeah. Because I think it's sometimes difficult. You know, because it's something, when I say it, you have to master it, because what I experienced in my younger years, it would be, at times I'd be a very analytical thinker, other times I'd be very creative. Yeah. But I think it's important to be able to control the two, to make sure that you use them both at the right time, etc. So that's why also, you know, so going back when I was a youngster, I was always into art. In the 90s, I got heavily into hip hop culture and graffiti, and that was really my passion. Yes. But in the same breath, also from a very young age, I started drawing machines, and I wanted to understand how cars worked. Yeah. Actually, I mean, I got a book at a very young age. I'm talking about like 4 years old, somewhere there, because we left South Africa when I was 5. So when I was 4 years old, it was actually, I think, a Walt Disney book. So it was like Disney characters explaining how things work, you know, the inside of cars, etc. So I was already at a very young age very passionate about how things work and engineering, essentially. But I never really knew that until sort of matric, when it was, you know, the question is like, what are you going to do with your life? Like, what are you going to do next? And at first I thought, oh no, because of my art, maybe architecture could be something. Yeah. But then I did this thing called winter school. So it was like a 2-week, or I think a week course at the University of Cape Town during the holidays, where you could basically try out different faculties. And I said, you know what, let me try engineering in the built environment, because it was architecture, but it was also engineering. And that week decided everything for me, because I fell in love with this idea of engineering. You know, I didn't have a concept of what it meant, but there I was like, this is incredible. Problem is that in my mind, I also thought that it would be heavily creative. And I agree with Lebogang, also in business, everything is creative. You know, there's creativity everywhere, but also there's different kinds of creativity. Yeah. And I think this is what then happened. So I went on that journey. I studied mechanical engineering at the University of Cape Town. Loved it, excelled at it. But there was something missing. And there was a creativity that I had known when I was younger that was just missing. And that essentially then brought me to where we are today, because after graduating, I just decided, you know what, I really want to pursue something that, number one, is my own, and number two, will really bring out my creativity. And I had to also rediscover my creative side, because the 4 years of doing my studies, it was really just my one side that was really brought to the fore. So it was the analytical thought. And as I said, even within analytical thinking, there's creativity. Yeah. But it's more confined. Yeah. I find it's more focused on one thing, whereas I think the artistic creativity is more free. Yeah. And I had to rediscover that. But I went down that journey, and that's what brought me to starting the clothing label Butan.
Nice. All right. And what's your favorite life quote?
I'd say the journey is the destination. I think that's something I live by all the time. It is something that even, when you reach certain milestones and you almost feel like, oh, what now? It's like, oh, that's what I wanted to reach. But it doesn't feel like we've arrived.
Yeah.
And even when things get tough, it's always just remember, it's all about the journey. Take everything in your stride.
Yes, and enjoy the journey.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Absolutely. Nice. So, Lebo, you're part of this record-breaking music gang.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that and leading up to how you guys met and decided to do this.
No, for sure. I think like Squatter Camp was like a great experience, because it really started from grassroots. And when I say grassroots, it's about, like first in your home, they got to believe in what you're doing. And then, your school, and then they can say, okay, Lewo's the guy that, when people want to battle or rap at the school, he's the talent show guy. Or then it goes into your greater community. Yeah. And then into the city whereby, got together in like certain clubs and, battle. So we really came out from the school of not the battle now, it's like freestyle battle off the dome, like the real hip hop culture, and earned our stripes the hard way, So the whole like similar to Master P, selling, tapes, recording them ourselves on cassettes and, hustling in the streets and building a network with hawkers and this and that. And, even, supplying like people like the Clicks Group or Musica, when, CD Warehouse, dealing with their distribution centers and stuff like that, independently printing. And so, it was a great learning because we were an independent, like group from the streets for real, creating an industry and a culture. So a lot of great learnings. I'm from an entrepreneurial home. My dad is an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. So basically learning from him and also doing like working with him as well back home. And then, and simultaneously building this other entity, which is Squatter Camp, which in as much as was the front facing where you just see the music, but we also had to do our own back end, right? Yeah. In being the executive producers and everything else of our own fate. And through that, you end up being in charge of everything from, shooting music videos, so you learn to produce to recording and to engineering your own music. Yeah. So that was a great just experience overall, and planning tours and then speaking to brands and this and that. Yeah. And that's how we ended up in clothing, because we had ventured into some clothing with Squatter Camp and Square, as much as like all musicians venture into clothing, right? Yeah. Square and the merch, SK Wear, Square. And then we did some stuff for Slicker with Ventilation. We were doing some of his merch. But that led us into having deeper conversations with Julian, saying, okay, we're about to put this one down, but how do we still carry on this clothing journey, outside of, I guess, the Squatter Camp, brand, and something we still wanted to do? Because, as I said, is, we see a lot of like businesses that are tied to the actual talent, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And no matter what product you're selling, most of the time is that if you tie that business to your talent, when your talent goes, so does, your business. Yeah, there's always anomalies, like there's your Michael Jordan, who, but like, for the most part, it's like, how do we build something that can live on and without us? In modern day culture, I guess that's like looking at something like, Nocta, I think with or without Drake, that thing built right will carry on itself,
Makes sense,
because it's not called like Drake wear. And I think also that's why we as Butan, myself and Julian, are not so much in the forefront in terms of the public space, because we believe like that the brand, must do its work in its space, without, because you said earlier, you mentioned it's about scalability, so scalability is not about us. Scalability is about the product at the end of the day. And that's the important thing that people need to communicate with, not with us. And one day we will pass this on, to the next people who are going to run it, and at that point in time, it cannot be about us. It must just be about what the brand promise is, throughout the continent. And when people come here, they know that what they're getting, regardless of who's behind the scenes. The brand promise has to lead the way.
Yeah, that's very powerful. I mean, just thinking about a brand that lives beyond you and has a life of its own. I think that's super important.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to add to this. This is our first ever interview together.
Awesome. First here.
No, look, I mean, we decided to do this because we don't see it as customer facing. We're not doing this to advertise our brand. I think this is more for the network of other entrepreneurs and seeing how we can impart, say, our learnings, our knowledge.
Yes.
And that's what attracted us, to actually agree to this interview.
Yeah,
so this is our first. And as Lebo said, we want people to have a relationship with the brand, and that's a personal relationship, and it shouldn't have anything to do with any individuals.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time, guys. I didn't know Julian and Lebo before, and it's called Richard. So you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You just made a shot. Here we are, but it's going to be epic. Julian, so what was running through your mind when you decided to found Butan? What's the brand story? What is Butan?
All right, let me start by telling you what Butan is, and then I'll take it back to its roots.
Yeah.
So Butan essentially is a rearrangement of letters of the word Bantu. So Bantu meaning people in Nguni languages. But during apartheid here in South Africa, the term was abused. So you had terms like Bantustan, Bantu education, essentially second class education for Black people. And we felt that, creating a new word, so rearranging the letters to create this new word, it's a form of reclaiming history and also creating a new outlook for the youth in South Africa as well, Africa as a whole, and the diaspora. And that's in line with our brand's ethos, which is to preserve, celebrate, and proliferate African cultural heritage through the art of fashion.
Love it.
So that's what the brand is. But let me take it back to the roots.
And can I just say, before you continue?
Yeah.
And Bantu also represents a grouping of over 24 nations throughout Africa. From Middle Africa, Central Africa, all the way down. So up until where people just use it as in it's just Nguni or South African word, actually represents a greater part of the Bantu people of the African continent. It's
I am Bantu, so
you understand.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, we're all connected.
So we're all connected. So so and hence the outlook of the brand is also very much pan-African.
Yeah.
Just from you look at the detail on Julian's cap and the colors that we use, it's all pan-African colors because we represent, in as much as we are based and we started here, but we represent the continent as a whole. And for you to be able to relate to the story of the Bantu people and all the languages we spoke as a collective, this is us. Butan is for the people, Abantu.
I love it. Okay, good.
So man, taking it all the way back. So as I'd mentioned already, I got into hip hop in the 90s.
Yeah.
And with that, I think what really drew me in was the graffiti. So the visual creative aspect of it. And I had mentioned, so I was born in South Africa.
Yeah.
We left when I was 5. We came back in 97.
Where did you go?
To Germany. My parents are German.
Okay.
But came back. So essentially, it was a matter of seeing, after apartheid came to an end, what's South Africa like. So we actually came in 96 to check it out.
Yeah.
Decision was made very quickly. In 97, we were here.
Yeah. Okay.
And I mean, I've been here since. I identify more as a South African than German, but I mean, it's still part of who I am. And I spent a good 11 years there.
Yeah.
But essentially, and that's also where I got into hip hop, so in the early days. And at the time there were a couple of stores where you could, buy your oversized pants and the hoodies and, and the first sort of hip hop brands were starting to emerge and it became a thing. But then coming to South Africa, there wasn't much here at the time yet. Also, hip hop was very much in its infancy. You know, if you're looking back to the 90s, I mean, obviously you also had pioneers back then, but it wasn't a massive movement. It was still very underground. And yeah, so just failing to really find something that would, resonate with the culture that I wanted to represent, because clothing is very important, right? When it comes to subculture, it's like you need to look the part, right? So I decided to just go about it myself. And I said, I mean, what's stopping me from creating a design and putting it on a t-shirt? And I mean, this is back in the days, we're talking, drawing something and then recreating it on Microsoft Paint, very pixel based. And I got these like iron-on sheets. So there's like iron-on t-shirt sheets. So you can print it in your normal like desktop printer. And then I ironed it onto a t-shirt and I wore it to school, and people asked me, hey, what's this? Like, this is this brand that I just created, And people liked it. And what I did a bit of market research. So I did a couple of designs. I probably had a good 8-9 designs. I printed them into like a little sheet, and I went around school asking people, hey, if you could buy a t-shirt, which one would you buy? So that was my little market research. And the one design emerged. And then I did more research. So back in the days, it was still the yellow pages. So I had to find t-shirt printers. There was a dad of another pupil who sort of came from the repo house business. So he taught me how to, the screen printing worked and positives, etc. So that's just how I learned. And then I got myself some t-shirts from a wholesaler, found out how the labeling works, the woven labels, etc. And my budget to produce 20 t-shirts, I still have my budget sheet. It was, I think, 2,100 Rand back in the days. I mean, to put it into context, it's more than 2,100 Rand is today, but it wasn't a big amount of money, but I didn't have the money. So I presented this business plan to my dad, and he said, cool, I'll lend you the money.
That's about $200. $150.
That's about $100 odd dollars. Yeah. $120.
At that time, I mean, at that time.
At that time, it was probably $400. Yeah. But it was still, it was a It wasn't a huge amount, but for me it was, because I mean, I wasn't.
You weren't working or anything, so yeah.
Look, I was. I always did things. My first job when I was in South Africa, I was selling sandals at the side of the road.
Oh wow, my first hustle was selling sandals as well. Hawking sandals. That was my first hustle.
Really? That's fantastic, bro. That's fantastic. No, and I see how well it did. Maybe that was also part of the inspiration, to be honest. I never actually thought about it that way. But essentially, I got the loan. Printed 20 t-shirts, sold the 20 t-shirts.
Nice.
Put that money straight back in.
Wow.
And that's kind of how it all started. But then, look, I mean, that's when it started, but then it also got cut short, because then, life happened. It was, now you're going to go study engineering. So I went to study engineering, but then during my engineering studies, I saw an opportunity at UCT. It was first with UCT Radio. They needed merchandise. And I said, I could possibly do this for you. I didn't really understand, as I said, the industry at the time. I knew how to print some t-shirts. But then when people wanted more complex things, I said, well, let me do the research. So I drove around and I found out, how the apparel industry works, how to construct a garment. You need to source your fabric. You need to have your patterns made, your markers. I mean, it's quite a complex little thing. And I sort of just learned while studying. And then got more clients. So I did hoodies for the engineering faculty. And then I got all the different faculties and then the different residences, and eventually even got to do the main UCT stuff. So that was the phase where I learned the business, but I wasn't really, actively pursuing the brand. There just wasn't time. I mean, engineering is really, it's a full-time dedication.
But it's interesting that you're doing all these things on the side while studying engineering.
And
were you looking for an extra buck, or what?
I was. Absolutely. Absolutely. I was looking for an extra buck. And I don't think that at the time I was actually actively pursuing this brand. I mean, I had created this brand, but it was always just my little passion project. But then I guess learning how to make clothes and seeing that there is money to be made, making these clothes for all these different faculties, etc. I think that was just then this culmination to say, hey, I've got something here. Now I know how to make clothes and I've created this brand and this could be a real pursuit, you know?
So at what point did you think, oh shit, this can be a real business and I want to pursue this business full time and make it big? And at that point, how big are you thinking?
Well, I guess that it was the time in my final year at UCT where, you know, I always say engineering was my passion, was my calling, right? I was really good at it. I had a fantastic thesis and, you know, all of that, but I couldn't see that path because also, you know, at the university, they already prepare you for industry, and it's a very set hierarchy. And I don't deal well with hierarchies. I really, even today in our company, we've got a very, very flat hierarchy. I like it that way. And then I just thought, you know, if I pursue this engineering path, it's going to be a very rigid future. And that was a time where I said, you know, actually, I've got something here. And to be honest, I don't think I thought very big at the time. I think that only came later. And I think in particular, it came after meeting Lebo and then even years later having discussions with Lebo. Because to put it into perspective, you know, I was running things even after I studied, I was running things on a very small scale. You know, I was supplying first one store in Long Street and in Cape Town and another two. And I was active in the hip hop culture and, you know, a couple of rappers were wearing my stuff, but it wasn't really getting out there on a grander scale. And I had met Lebo already, but even I think it took for Lebo to actually identify that this could be hugely scalable, that we, you know, that I'm almost, I wouldn't say wasting my time in how I was doing things, but I wasn't exploring it to the level that it could have been explored. And then when we joined forces, it was a matter of then saying, okay, great. They are in entertainment. They understand the industry. They can take it to a much bigger audience. And I'm obviously building the skills of actually doing the garmentry and the clothes, etc. And I think it was at that juncture where I realized the potential. You know, when it was like suddenly now in music videos and you saw how that's affecting sales, and now you're getting into bigger retailers, and you know that was the moment where we saw, okay, this could be potentially really big.
Man, I love the way this disciplines married, like the hip hop and the culture and the music and now fashion and the business world and all that. It's just beautiful to hear this story. Lebo, like, do you remember the first time you met this guy, and do you remember that evolution of your relationship?
I gotta say, and when he speaks about us, initially there was three of us, myself, the S is Siabonga, who's also a Slicker, and he runs On Life, a Slicker On Life platform as well. He was my partner in music and then, you know, also in business, you know. But then he went to concentrate more on that side of what he's doing. But essentially when he started, that's why it's LSJ, it's Lebo, Sia, and Julian. You know, it's not complicated. So when I met Julian, it was a case of my cousin was at UCT, and I think that's his whole story about the t-shirts. She was like, yo, check out this guy. He does this. It's like, yo. And then I think we met him like on one of our trips to Cape Town. I think gave me a hoodie. You know, and
you were going to perform?
Yeah, I was going to perform Squatter Camp, and you know, and it was like, okay, cool. Because as you said, he was already seeding out to a few rappers and stuff.
Maybe for perspective, like how big was Squatter Camp then?
In perspective, Squatter Camp when we started was still very. It was big within hip hop circles, but remember, hip hop was still very small as a genre. So it was a very tight-knit community, you know. So if you made waves around like the hip hop circles, people would know you, you know, round about Joburg. But this is all word of mouth. The people would see you here and there, and there were very few places where there were actual events and stuff like that. But within the community of hip hop, you know, it was spreading. And then, but also we were like, also coming out with like the vernac sort of rap. So now we were crossing over beyond the hip hop community into the, more just like community at large. Because I mean, we've always had like Kwaito in South Africa, and with Kwaito music, there was two sides of Kwaito. Because Kwaito is exactly like Amapiano now, essentially. It's the same thing, but like it's with Kwaito, you could either get like the guys that are singing more, on the beats, or you get Kwaito that was more hip hop influence, where the guys were rapping. So like TKZ or Zola and so forth, But it was still very much on dance and Kwaito beats and sort of like different to hip hop, but we're all rapping, right? But like hip hop had the actual culture of actual like hardcore rap and metaphors and this and that and. Yeah. So within the hip hop circles, I mean, we were growing, but at that time we were like buzzing. I'd say like we're buzzing. Like the hip hop community knew who we are, and like we had put out a couple of tapes, and our music video was on TV, and our song was starting to get played on radio. But these were like, these is like the first like real rap guys to like really make it. But like we were coming off the back of the success of guys like Prophets of the City, Mischief, Specs, Amu. So that groundwork had been like sort of like done, but like now we were like the guys that were pushing it out as its own thing, like even harder. And it was like, okay, now there's an industry starting, and we're the guys at the forefront of really making it commercially successful. Because we can't take the credit and be like it was all us. No. There's a lot of guys that had put a lot of groundwork in, so that by the time we came, and it's like the pressure was already on the door, and we were just that final kick to say boom. Then the floodgates opened. Then behind us was like a whole lot of other guys were like, hey, So yeah, man. At that point when we met, we were buzzing about to blow. If I can put it that way, we were like literally at that cusp about to blow. And then,
so this is serendipity. And so, how did you find this guy and give him a hoodie?
Sorry,
you gave him a hoodie.
Yeah, I did, man. I mean, it's so interesting. Like I find it quite humble how you're speaking, because I think for us in Cape Town, obviously I was in the hip hop community, but Squatter Camp was massive. Like in our eyes, this was like these guys were massive. And when his cousin, because it was through a friend of mine who was actually also, he was because I mean, I had a couple of garments that are made, right? So he was selling on campus as well. Yeah. So actually coming to think of it, there was already that side hustle as well. So this gent was selling at the university, like at the residences. Yeah. And he came to me and he's like, actually, this just happened. My homie is cousins with Sugar Smacks from Squatter Camp. I was like, what? No ways. And it's like, and we've got this opportunity, bro. We can go meet them. And it's like, we can give them a t-shirt or two. And here we go. And I mean, this was my first car, was a Mazda 323 Sting. I don't remember, hard stick, no power steering. Yeah. And we're going off to meet these gents at their hotel. And I mean, I was super nervous, because it's just like, I mean, we're just some kids from Cape Town, and here's quite a camp. And met the gents, and it was quite daunting, to be honest, because get into this room and there's it's the rap life. So there's the groupies and there's the gents, but I must say, Lebogang from like the other gents were a little bit more reserved, I mean, they were honestly at the time they were pretty much superstars already. They really were. I mean, of course it got even bigger, but that's kind of just the context. But Lebogang was just super nice and down to earth from the get, and it's that's just who he is, And I gave him a hoodie, appreciated, and then even and then I gave the gents. I think you guys were performing at the waterfront or something, and they needed a lift, so I had a half of Squatter Camp in my little 323. It was such a crazy moment, man. It was just like, bro, like
there was a beige hoodie, the beige fawn with like brown print on it. It was a dark brown print, and there was like the logo of like
still remember
like
I
the
love that.
spray can type logo, graffiti style logo.
Nice.
Yeah, so we had that one, and like it was a blue cap and a maroon top with the breakdance. I mean, those were all part of the early garments, and myself and Slick, and and then
how
like,
did you feel when you liked this stuff?
yeah, I'm like, yo, this guy's doing his thing. We're all good, you know. Like, no, but at that time, you know, I think the culture of the industry was very different. If I can say that, I don't know. Like, it was very much a community, regardless of where you were. I think in your standing or whatever, but like the cultural space was very much open to whoever's doing something, you know. I mean, if you hear the story of Lokshan culture, they started off by crocheted, little Rasta type beanies, you know, and they grew to become a massive business. But I think like, because once anybody got a taste of what they're doing, support was always there. So even in music at that point in time, like some of the biggest stars in this country, you know, people that were selling 500,000 records, even like with us at Squatter Camp, they would spot us from across the room and be like, yo, what's good? You guys are good? Sharp, let's chill out. So like, there was always that open sort of like, just relax. We're all from the hood. We're all from the ghetto. We're all from nothing. Everyone's just trying, you know, to make it. Others are really having a good time. Others, you know, but the South African community at large, and I think it's, to be honest, a bit of a South African spirit as a whole. We don't have like a really strong celebrity fandom type culture here. Like you could be really famous, but you could still just walk down the streets and people would just be like, hey, what's up? You know? If you agree, not so don't get it wrong. It's not that people don't appreciate you. I'm just saying it's not like a crazy space. And you know, some guys, they will let you just walk and do your thing, you know, regardless of who you are. It's one of those places in the world where I honestly think even Michael Jackson could have lived here, you know? Like, I think once guys see him around the block 4 times, they'll be like,
Dave Chappelle was here for a while, taking taxis and stuff.
I think that let him go after a while. Like, even the neighbor would be like, there's Michael. He's just buying bread. Let's go, bro. I think it's really that type of space, you know, where they let you be. So that whole energy, I think, is just what it is, you know. Whereas now, I'm not sure if it's really the same space, but also like maybe for some people that are outside of my peer group. But when I look at it from outside, they also seem to have their own vibe and energy of collaboration happening. So, you know, I can't say no, I'm mad at that. I just think it's the South African spirit to be like, really, let's connect, let's see what you're doing. You know, but now it is getting more business heavy. It is about like, what can you really do? How serious are you? Because in the advent of technology and everything being open, I guess one cannot trust any and everybody, you know. So due diligence and process is taken to like really understand who you are, what are you doing, you know, are you a scammer, are you not, what's happening before we can, you know, just work and build together.
So, and how quickly, so do you remember like the amount of time it took for you guys to sort of formalize something, say, let's partner, let's build this?
I mean, I think
year and a half.
Probably. I think the point was, so and I want to take it back as well. I don't think I saw this opportunity from when we met, because I mean, this was really the early days. I wasn't business minded, to be honest. You know, I thought it was great when I saw a picture here and there, or even a magazine of, you know, Lebogang wearing our brand. It was a great moment, but I never saw that this actually was an opportunity. And I think it was for Lebo and Sia to actually spot that. And you contacted me in 2008, I think it was. You guys were doing Jazz Fest in Cape Town. And 06. Was it 06?
No, you're right. It could have been
I think it was 08.
Yeah.
Because that's the first time we actually spoke and said, here is an opportunity. Well, you spotted the opportunity. And then I think 2010, around there, it became formalized. And I mean, I even subsequently moved up to Joburg.
To do this, like,
man, this was a serious
I'm prone to say 2010 we're already in store. That's when we went into cross trainer. Right? Was that not end of 2010, December 2010?
Yeah, you're right. Because it was a World Cup, and already I think even Cuesta was wearing like one of the T-shirts when he was performing. Well, I think you guys were also performing at the stadium.
In 2010.
Yeah. So things were already moving. So you're right. About 1.5 years to
talking and get
this is
things
crazy.
done.
So you guys have been doing this for 15 years.
Yeah, because I mean, Julian didn't want to also let go. Like, I mean, he keeps the balance there's a balance here, you know?
Because like a dog with a bone.
Yeah, it's like, okay, he really loves his brand and his product and he's built it over these years. And it's like, okay, like, can't just you can't just give it off to anybody, unless you want to be able to build something. You're going to give a portion of, I guess, yourself and your labor to somebody, and the process. So it was like a lot of like having to really build sort of like the trust factor and this and that, and and then for us also saying, hey, we've got this opportunity, but also us bringing opportunity to the table. Like, look, we can do this. Look, we can do that, and I guess the shared vision. I think. And in the same breath, like a lot of us, like maybe me and Sia are looking more for the opportunities, but Julian really takes care of the brand. And sometimes we're like, nah, let's do this, and he'd be like, no, that's gonna bastardize the product, They were like, okay, like let's up until we find common ground. And I think, look, in all aspects, in fairness, that's what's sort of like kept it going, because we can say really. Butan, is established, in 2001 in Cape Town. Yeah. But only in about 2006 did it gear up a notch to like start, getting more suppliers and people involved and like being more seriously. Yeah. Then I guess really from about, we can say 2010, did we now start the journey of really trying to build this brand, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
And in that past 15 years, it's been that the brand has been consistent.
Yeah.
It's been loved by many, worn by many. We've done some great things, We've won the best local hip hop brand 5 times at the SA Hip Hop Awards.
Wow.
We've done collaborations with the Kaiser Chiefs, the football club.
Nice.
That was like a first of its kind streetwear brand and, football club in this country. We've done collaborations with Rocking the Daisies, most recently Inkabi Zezwe being Java and Big Zulu, as well as Samurai Farai, who's a, contemporary artist. So these are just some of the milestones that we've done, and we've dressed some really cool people in the journey as well. But doing that while making sure that we preserve the brand's, equity and esteem, which is not so easy to do when you're trying to preserve that versus bastardizing the product for profit, because we've seen many come and many go in the same breath. So we're trying to find that great balance between, having a long-lasting product and brand while scaling it. So it's about also being able to, how do you control the supply and demand, whereby you can't oversupply, you need to have just the right amount of demand. And I think where we are now is a case of, when we're talking scalability, it's, really breaking the brand into the rest of the African market. I think when we speak of East Africa, Victoria Kamani is a friend of the brand.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. You can spot her wearing some of the product now and again. And she's been a friend for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And we really want. I mean, we've had Burner wear some stuff before.
Wow.
Before the Burner now.
Yeah. Banner is banner.
So I mean, I think there was a time where he did a lot of stuff here when he was with Keenan, aka and Les, and I think we got to give him some product at the time. But I mean, of course, it's all love to Burn 100.
Yeah.
And then now it's really about saying that we really want to go for the diaspora. That's really our focus, as well as other key African markets.
Okay.
Making sure that's where we want to grow the supply more than anything for scalability.
Interesting.
More than it is here, But I mean, so that will come with its, while on that journey, has its own business challenges, because your overheads are your overheads, and you need in the same breath scale quick enough, but then you need to build capital quick enough. So I mean, there's definitely business challenges along the way, but I think the vision is clear and where we want to go. And then then and it's like like they say, it's not a straight line. This thing is more of like a jungle gym, and monkey bars and going up until establish it, because we have to look at some of the brands and the products that we all love. Kudos to those that can do it very quickly. But then, we look at your Louis Vuittons or whatever, or any other, Levi's. These are brands that are started many years ago, and then some have gone through generations. Or you look at brands that have been, brands that started a long time ago and actually bought over by larger companies and, reignited, and so forth. So the brands and journeys have a really, various journeys, and I think it's just about, in the same way we found our partnership in our journey to scale, we're also looking for the right sort of partners to be able to build this thing for bonke abantu, 100%. This has to be and will be Africa's #1 streetwear brand.
I love it. That's very clear vision, very clearly articulated. That's very cool. So I'm curious about your co-founding relationship. So who handles what? Have you guys gotten into any, this is normal, like disagreements or anything like that, or varying
all the
opinion?
time.
And how do you deal? I think it's very important for guys just to understand 15 years is a long time. I think it's one of for the younger generation, I think you're one of those businesses that have worked together. Guys are partnered for a very long time. It's impressive.
Yeah.
So well done on that. And I can see the chemistry. I love it. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the funny thing is, I mean, I love this man to bits, you know? I mean, he's more than just a business partner. He's a friend. I see him as my brother. But I think any strong or tight relationship like that, there's different viewpoints, and I think we often at loggerheads, but it's all love, It's like Lebo sees it one way, I see it another way. And Bui, our marketing manager, always laughs at this because she sees the way that we interact. It's almost like when we see things exactly the right way, it's almost a moment to celebrate, But the beauty is that we navigate that space, and I think it's actually that's what makes the relationship work. Is that it's those opposing viewpoints are important, and then obviously internalizing the other person's point and seeing things from a different perspective, and I think that's what makes it work. I think Lebogang is, I think to say, more business-minded than I am, which is great. I think sometimes I get caught up too much in the details and in the design, and I mean, even that's why I couldn't spot the opportunity back in the days, because for me it was all, I want to keep it tight. I want to make sure that this brand, that we're not selling out. And I think that's always still an aspect what Lebo's also talking about, that balancing scalability and brand equity. You don't want to just do something that could tank the brand. This we in it for the long game, but definitely more commercially driven, which is amazing. And I guess he puts me in check, and I will do so equally. But I think we have mutual respect for each other, and I think that's what's important.
I think it's like a marriage, right? Like it's I think it's about just just respect for one another. I think that goes in, and I think putting the ego aside, you know what I'm saying, and being able to say, all right, this is how you see it, this is how I see it. We can strongly disagree, we can strongly agree, but up until we find a common ground, and then what we have in common is that I think we both want the brand to be successful. At least that's what we can agree on.
So you trust that everyone has the best intention for the brand.
Exactly. And then how we get to the success, that's where the debates and everything is, But in terms of that's where we're going, that's where we're going, And I think for really like I said, Julian is the MD and creative director. So we have a design, we work with a team. Julian will lay out his, the thought processes, run it by us. This is what we're thinking. Or sometimes I'll also bounce off ideas. Yo, man, why don't we do something like this? Because I'm still a creative at the end of the day. And so I'm like, yo, but why don't we do something like this? Or why don't we explore this sort of range? Or, then he'll take it or not take it. And then he'll come with the designs and like, okay, we'll explore, and then we'll make comments and this and that. All right. Then he'll give it to the design team and the graphic designers and illustrators and they'll do their thing. We have our marketing manager, Bui, in the team. Also have head of production, and distribution in Tabiso, as well as, Musa does all our in-store training and merchandising side of things, So as a collective, then we all sort of like give input in terms of what we're thinking, and then we can iron out what's right or wrong. But I think that bouncing off of ideas and I guess regular meetings and seeing if this will work or that won't work, that's where we sort of like find ways to make things work. But I think definitely managing one's ego and opinion is important, because that's how we get to have dialogue. And I think that's just human nature with anybody, anywhere, no matter like what business, what industry, who you are, who you don't know. If I come to you with an attitude on the first day we meet, I mean, it's going to be, it's done, But like, if we just, communicate as normal people with just due respect, and we're not rude to each other, then I think, we can always, keep engaging and see how we find a way forward.
Cool. Very cool. In terms from an operational perspective, like how's your distribution set up? Like stores versus online versus like out of country sales. Like how's that looking, and how do you think it's going to evolve over the next couple of years? What's the plan?
Sure. So I will take you on a bit of a journey there, because I think things have changed drastically over the past few years. And I'd say, I think the first major disruption was COVID, and then everything that came after. So prior to COVID, the way the business was set up, or the way that I built it from the get, it was always about, wanting to have the brand in multi-brand stores. Okay. And not starting off with our own store. And the idea behind that was to say, well, we want to establish the brand. We want to see the brand next to established international brands. Got it. Right? Yeah. So that, because if people don't know your brand and you've got your single brand store, it doesn't mean anything. And you're probably going to tank. Yeah. It's probably not going to work. And that was always the strategy from the get-go. And it worked, and we scaled that up. We had a lot of trial and error. I mean, there was, when we got into business together, we started with the cross trainer. I think that was the big sort of step from stocking a couple of independent stores in Cape Town to now suddenly getting into a retail chain. And I think this is also where we were at loggerheads, because for me it was, I didn't want to go too big too quickly. But the gents said, well, be realistic. At the end of the day, if we want to achieve our business goals, this is what we need to do. And it didn't work out as planned for various reasons. But something else came from that, because when that relationship didn't work out, we got into a relationship with Shesha stores. Okay. So much smaller. I mean, I think even at the time, Cross Trainer probably had about 40 or odd stores.
Yeah, I think Cross Trainer was probably started at about 20 doors.
Yeah, well, we did, but I think they had about
40.
Yeah, 100%. And it also, for me, it wasn't exactly the right door, because it was semi-sports. I really wanted, to retain that streetwear essence. Lifestyle. And exactly. And Shesha gave us that with, at the time, I think there were eight stores. I mean, even since then, they haven't scaled much. Yeah. Family-run business, but it's really nice. I like these so-called mini chains. And that's what really saw us grow. Yeah. And
then also just add that, but then the expansion was also to make sure we're available countrywide. So then we started getting guys in like different parts of the country, like Northwest. We needed presence. We needed presence in Limpopo. We needed presence in Mpumalanga. So then we went on actually asked the consumers where they want to shop and what they like. And then we went and we spoke to those stores, and then we started stocking different people around the country, but also still keeping it very minimal. But like Julian said, very much, we found throughout that journey that like, if we go into like just generic stores that just so that we have shelf space and a presence in any other community, our consumer was not there.
Yeah.
So people that understood or knew the brand were not there. So it was very much that we found that like actually the stores that sell the higher cost apparel and the more fashion conscious consumer, the more top tier stores, should I say, were where we were most well received. And then so we started understanding more or less like what our sort of like consumer profile looks like, or people that understand, or people that are even willing to explore fashion.
Yes. Good.
No, 100%. So there was a lot of learning and a lot of, there's a lot of rotation as well. So it was a mix between these mini chains, independent retailers, then later also getting into bigger chains. So there's a lot of learning there. And as Lebo said, the stores that generally stock the higher tier products, the more limited edition sneakers, etc. That's where our product tends to do the best. Yeah. But then COVID came. I think COVID at the beginning was actually more of a blessing, because then we started expanding more also into the bigger chains, or the sports scene, etc. And then a couple of pitfalls happened. And I think it's important to mention, because this is where it's ending us up now, which is more into the e-commerce, direct-to-consumer space. Okay. We had a lot of issues. So we produce a lot of product locally, but also produce some product overseas that we can't make locally. Okay. And post-COVID, we had a lot of supply chain issues, which ended us up in a lot of trouble with the bigger retailers. Okay. Then also insolvency. I mean, one of the big retail chains we were supplying, they liquidated. So yeah, it was actually quite rough. I mean, we literally, the model that we did have, which was essentially wholesaling to retailers, and we scaled that up quite a bit. We had third-party logistics outsourced, so warehousing outsourced, and also at the same time with our Thread 60 agency, we were rolling out a range for Kaizer Chiefs Football Club, which was also, I think about 60 stores we were supplying at the time. Wow. So this was all happening at the same time, but all the same business model. Yeah. And then,
so this business model is like wholesale. So
it was essentially wholesale to multi-brand stores. Yeah. We obviously always were eyeing the idea of having our own retail store. Yeah. Right. But also, and we still maintain that today, it's about not creating more than just a retail experience. So it's, creating a space that's a community space, etc., that we can do, multiple things and have multiple revenue channels through it as well. Yeah. But essentially that during COVID then as well, we really took the e-commerce side more seriously. So we're building up our e-commerce store. At the beginning, we actually outsourced it. And in the meantime, we've brought it in-house. So I've upskilled my team, and we're actually running it in-house. Okay. And at the moment, we're even doing our fulfillment ourselves, which is great. I never wanted to do it, but it forced us to do it. But it's also great, because now we understand this, we understand that model from start to finish.
And sorry to interrupt. You're gonna finish?
I was just saying. So since what's happened, it's a mix now. So it's still multi-brand stores. Yeah. Our direct to consumer has become a much more important part of the business. Okay. And we are still eyeing the idea of a flagship retail space. Okay. But I think it's also about timing, because retail in this country is not doing too well. Okay. So it's all about timing, but I think really a lot of the energy is going into online, because also talking about our international endeavors. Yeah. And already we're shipping internationally. I think we need to do more marketing internationally, but we see the potential.
Where are you seeing traffic from internationally?
I think it's
before you go to the Jules, then sorry, I just want to wrap up just in terms of the retail side and COVID and everything else. So we also found that like we were also subject to a lot of dynamics that we were not in control of. Like Julian says, being, COVID, shipping, and if you're late on the one side, it's cancel your order, It's like it's late. And hence the bigger guys always have their stock ready a year in advance. That's why clothing is sold so far in advance, because they know that they cannot afford. You can't be running a just-in-time model per se. When you're dealing with big retailers, but then also like brands like not the impact of like as you see, like let's say Nike. Nike stopped supplying a lot of independent and other stores with like top tier product and held back product. But the knock-on effect that actually really had in the retail space was scary. By some of the guys that were holding our product couldn't sustain their own stores anymore, and they had to close down. And, like even other aspects where avenues we're looking at for growth, guys are like, yo, Nike's actually 80% of my business. So if they're not giving me supply, I have to close my store, And other like key people that were like really like one of our main other suppliers, who was actually our number one customer at some point, like also had to close down as well.
Wow.
And just he's got a couple of stores left, but it was like, one is COVID, two, it's all of this, lack of supply. So which actually had a knock-on effect on terms of us, being subjected to that. And then also like with the smaller firms actually and smaller businesses, the amount of times we've had to change retailers in terms of like in each region, because we find a guy, he grows from one store, next thing he's got 2 stores, 3 stores, then they hit 5 stores, and then like I don't know, then like scaling it's got that problem, right? And then like from
growth
5
can kill you.
The growth can kill you, and then and then after that, like guys are like, hey, then the payments are late, then it's this and it's that, then the shops start closing down. Now you've lost, I think we got to about close to like 40 odd, I think, maybe just over 40 retailers at some point. They were just stocking Butan across the country. But like this guy closes 5 stores, then we have to find one guy, then another guy has 3 stores, then he closed, now you're down, like, so now it's like, you grow and then like you compress, then you grow and then you compress. It's doing that because of supplying these third party and like smaller chain stores, which was unfortunate, because we would have loved them to just grow and grow or remain like where they were, because they were good for us, we were good for them. But when they faced other challenges in their business, it's just like how we then are also subjected by that is very interesting,
I can imagine there's
so the e-commerce really comes into play, and just to say like these other like online players, and realize like the growth of like e-commerce in the country, like from a shopping point of view, but also the way it's projected to go over time, because I think there's a lot of people who are still not shopping online, and where the projections are and everything else. So look, over time, I think we definitely headed in the right space, but it's just of course to make sure that it's solid and 100%, because some of these online clothing stores that we speak to, or some people whose records we have or financials that we have, is actually pretty amazing. There are brands that be like, what, that guy does how much in a month? And he's like, I'm like, wow, like that guy? And they're like, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, and it's all about like that. And that's healthy competition, and keeps you motivated to grow.
Possible.
So I was just wanted to explain that in terms of the retail and the essence and importance of e-commerce now.
Julian, just before you go, like there's a knock-on effect to customer experience, I can imagine. Like you guys or market communicating that guys can find your brand in certain stores. And then those stores shut, then you have to communicate that they can find them now in a new store. That's how it works, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you're doing like non-D2C, is there still a lot of emphasis on brand building and marketing? Is it similar to what like Nike does, for example? I think Nike do this multi-store. A lot of the brands.
It's very important from a because the customers that we supply, then the multi-brand stores. Your window displays, the training of the staff, how you merchandise your product in store, that becomes very important. So even though you're not direct to consumer, but you need to make sure that the customer and the in-store staff is trained, because so you are still consumer facing, because when they walk into the store, they have to meet your product. And if it's not displayed well, if it's not merchandised well, if it's not placed in the right place of the store, you've got problems. And if like when they come in, if you didn't do the staff training so that the staff knows like, oh, what is Butan? Okay, Butan means 1, 2, 3. And like the churn over in terms of staff in retail is also high. So like with every season, you have to do a road show and educate everybody once again.
Wow, it's much more complicated than it looks.
It
seems like wholesale, you just give-
It's you have to, and where you said growth can kill you, because we thought that we learned that like we thought more doors, more money. We ship, they sell, we're good.
Yeah.
But then more doors means more point of sale, more traveling on the road, more education, more, just you have to do more phone calls, more merchandising, you have to bring on somebody else at some point. Unfortunately, we also had to let him go quickly because of things like COVID and stuff, but who was just doing merchandising strictly. But it's literally that, with every store you need to service that client, and it's not plug and play. It's not that easy. So even though we market here, but then we still have to
do the stuff on the ground. Got it. Nice. So we rudely interrupted. You were saying something.
No.
We were going to the e-commerce. You were asking about
international.
e-commerce.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, this is a huge opportunity because now it's also what I really like about this direct to consumer via e-commerce is, we're building a direct rapport. Before it was like the stores might have their database of customers.
Yes.
Now we building that database, and we are in control how we can now directly speak to our consumers. We've got their data. We know who shops small sizes, so we can direct our communication. Which is great for us, and it's also great for the consumer. Right. So that's a huge benefit. And again, look, I think the retail, as much as it's changing hugely, I think there will always still be a physical aspect to it. But I think the way we were running and the way a lot of businesses are still running with this wholesale to multi-brand stores, I don't think that model is going to last forever. And which is great for us, I find, because for us it's now, we as you just said, with that infrastructure that you're supplying comes all the logistics, etc. And it's actually the barriers to entry are huge. As a small brand to say, oh, I want to reach a customer in New York, or look at opening a store in New York, or even knocking on doors there and getting in. It's really, really difficult and requires a lot of capital. Whereas now it's a matter of, can we be active in their space online and attract the customers and service them? And also shipping internationally has become easier. There's fantastic businesses. There's one business now, what they do, because the difficulty was always, it was cheaper to bring things in than obviously get them out of the country, because there are a lot more imports than exports. But now what companies, or at least one company we know of that we work with, what they've done is that they consolidate shipments. So they're basically saying, let's take all these smaller guys and now
tunnel?
go to the big shippers.
Is this tunnel?
Sorry?
Is it tunnel?
It's Tunnel. Oh, Okay,
Tunnel.
fantastic. Yes.
Tunnel, yeah.
So Tunnel, we work with Tunnel, and it's essentially shrunk our shipping prices to the point that it's attractive now for customers internationally. And also the shipping times is decent. Because obviously, you've got the customer in Europe, for instance, say the Amazon Prime customer, they're used to getting the stuff the next day.
Yeah.
So that's still something, then that's, so you need to offer them free shipping for a certain amount, and possibly low shipping if it's below that. And then also give them decent turnaround. And I think, some of our customers, offer 2-3 days. I'm talking Europe and even the States have received their products.
2-3 days. That's impressive.
Yeah, and then also locally with BobGo. Also, we especially in urban regions, so like Joburg, Pretoria, Gauteng, essentially.
Yeah.
Next day, sometimes even same day. It's unbelievable. So and it's no, it's great. And this was builds obviously this customer loyalty and a lot of returning customers.
Yeah.
Because they know our service is on point.
Yeah. And your feel is on point, man. Like I just feel like grabbing all what you guys are wearing.
Mm.
I need to.
No,
I need
thank
to
you,
shop on your platform soon.
That's what I think people have always been have commended us for over the years. That like, yo, Butan, we love the quality, you know.
Yeah.
So it's really tough sometimes where you want to do things all locally, but you can't match some of the quality that you get in China. And then it's like, yo, and then China's got like, you know, MOQs, so you know that if we're bringing that in, it's got to be top tier. So yo, there's many different challenges, but I think what we've definitely built is a great brand. I think it's a story that we want African people to be proud of and hold on to dearly.
Yeah.
And it's a story that like the whole continent, we want this thing to be ours. We need to understand. We don't have an Adidas. We don't have an African Nike. We don't have, you know, a Guess jeans or whatever. And we want Butan to be that while celebrating, you know, African culture. Every piece I was saying is that it's not a garment, it's a piece of art.
Yeah.
And just like in all of the books that are in here and they tell you everything about them, the thing is that every garment has a story. Nothing is just a print, you know, nothing is just for fun because it looks good. You know, everything is styled with the story behind it and as to why it was made, what each symbol represents.
Yeah.
Limited, you know, quantities in terms of distribution so that not everyone's just wearing the same thing. So really in this journey of you know, telling the African story through fashion, you know, we want people to come along and ride with us, you know, as we grow. But that's I mean that's definitely on the Butan, you know, side and through the learnings. Then we've also like developed the apparel agency.
Okay.
So basically, white label solutions. So you know, we could do chapter. So you know,
we do chapter much.
100%.
Absolutely.
That's what. So
Nice.
anybody that's got anything to do, we take all our learnings in terms of. You need to understand also like. It goes to as much detail as we don't buy. You know, like you see African print everywhere, and you're like, oh, it's just African print is great. Like from the camo that we have our own camo print. It's not
unique to you guys.
It's our own pattern.
So this one is the Flying Panther one. We've got many different camos. So this one actually has like Flying Panthers in it. So everything is custom designed. Nothing is taken off the shelf.
No matter.
And I saw a new collection that's Kanga. You know, there's a lot of Kanga in Kenya. So I really resonated with that.
And once again, there's our own print. That one's got it's the Panther, whatever. It's our own pattern.
Wow.
You know, whether it's a Kente cloth, it's our own pattern. It's designed so that like we've got shwe prints, we've got many different patterns that are uniquely ours, not off the shelf. So there's so much more just from an art space that we want, you know, definitely to explore within the Butan universe. The Butan universe is much more than even more than the clothes that you wear.
Yeah.
It's about the story that the clothes tell and the story that these patterns tell.
Yes.
You know, and in sticking true to, you know, the objective and telling a different narrative, you know, right? That's the fine detail that goes into it. So people have always appreciated the quality that we bring forward, and we try by all means to maintain that, if not better it. But everything that we do is about trying to better. Sometimes you do a garment, doesn't work out the way you want it to, but it's always about like, how can we get this better for the consumer? And we're always on the search for the, like, you know, the best manufacturers and factories that we can find, you know, up until one day we'll have a foolproof, you know, system, and that's what we absolutely want to give to the people, you know. So in building this and through the learnings and that experience, hence we found we saw that people do need sort of like a merchandising solution, you know, so a one-stop shop that can make sure and guarantee you high quality that you'd find retail and fashion ready. Because what you don't want is, when we're speaking of chapter and you've got all the other great entrepreneurs that you've brought here, and you give them a garment and say, like, this is from us. Then it's like something that is like literally, you know, factory or just lot bought, and you stuck your logo on it, you know? It's like, okay, cool. Like, you want to give people merchandise that they will be proud to wear, because when they are proud to wear it, they're gonna tell the story of your company everywhere that they go, because wherever they go, it's like, oh, what are you wearing? Oh, no, this is chap, this is what. I mean, I saw some other guy the other day wearing like a Bridgestone shirt. Think like, but it was like Bridgestone. It was like just something weird, but it's look, it could be appropriation of the logo or something.
Yeah.
But it was definitely Bridgestone. I was like, oh damn, if that's actually Bridgestone company merchandise, that is like dope,
Okay.
But like I was just wearing it at the airport, and I was like, I don't know much, but I would buy that because it never even said Bridgestone, just the logo, but they'd use it to say something else. So it's making sure that it's fashion ready, merchandise, and that's the point of the 360 agency, and bringing our expertise and skills to corporates at large to say, hey, people are spending money on your product. If you want to gift them with something they're going to love.
I'm seeing, that makes a lot of sense. I'm seeing a lot of corporates now with gift shops, and this is super relevant. I like the way you're extrapolating your experiences in building your own brand and sharing that with other companies that may need the same. That's
because there's no reason, like really, I mean, people have always been exposed, I guess, to BMW's merchandise, or like when you Mercedes, or some of those guys would have very specific. But now it doesn't mean they are now not the only ones that can have that. We're saying we can do that for you. You know?
That's amazing. Good stuff. And I feel like you say so many gems, and what's really resonating across all the conversations is just the passion for the continent and the passion for building, brands that are. So we like Nike and we like all these other brands, but it's about time we started to wear our own.
100%.
That's it.
Yeah. That's very exciting stuff, and you guys are at the forefront of that. So congratulations on an amazing journey. I'd love to give you guys a minute to give a parting shot each. Say something to the entrepreneurs, the hustlers, anyone you think needs to hear something today. Please prepare to tell them something. And guys, I'd like to do something different here. Please comment with any questions that you'd have for the gents. I'll make sure they get answered, because their story is actually super unique. And I'm sure there's creatives who are looking to start businesses. It's becoming a thing now, and you guys have proven that you can do it. And from very different backgrounds, you've proven that you can build a business and think about scaling a business. And that's what we need, because creating jobs and all that super critical. So comment with questions, and you know where to find us. We're right here on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So please subscribe so that we notify you when the next episode drops. But let's give Lebo and Julian a chance to give a parting shot.
Yeah, I'll start, and then I think Julian can close.
Yeah.
Or should close. I think you think to walk this journey. What can I say? Look, they and it's a bit touch and go, but I guess we gotta say it, right? Like it's a case where they say, as an entrepreneur, let me say this: we are creating jobs, and we need people that are going to work with us, right?
Yeah.
Not for us, with us, right? And in so doing, they have to believe in the business and the vision of your business, And we hope that the people that we have in our business and the people that you have in your business, everyone's vision must align. And that's how things grow, because they say that a salary is what they pay you, to forget your dreams, But we want people that share a common dream, then I guess then it's a common success. And I think maybe if you're out there, whether you work for somebody or you are the business owner, but I guess it's about that shared dream, because I think when we all share in that one dream, then no one feels like they're wasting their time, because at some point, even though I might own the business, but I'm also resonating to your passion point, Because we don't want to be, because it's just sometimes on a podcast, everyone's like, forget the job, start your own thing and whatever. No, but that's not what we do, because as people who create these businesses, we need people to work as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just like you can't just preach quit your job. No, it's like, yo, maybe it's about find the right job or the right group of people to partner with, so that the growth is there. And then also, like, you gotta have an unshakable faith, because in the same breath as like saying that to the people that one would employ, or the people that are employed, is like, the business owners also face the same problem, because at the end of the day, you might be given a different job, like, so keep the main thing. At the end of the day, it's like, if somebody comes and pulls you in one direction, and then like you make a lot of money there, you might forget this other vision, you know what I'm saying, which becomes the same sort of sentiment, like I said, about the salary and stuff, so it's about making sure that we all keep the main thing, the main thing. We all have to deal with survival, but while dealing with survival, let's not, forget the bigger picture. So that unshakable faith, I think, is important in terms of what you're doing and staying the course. I think it's about also managing, our personal goals and business goals all, collectively, because the business will take care of you. Then at some point you need to take care of the business. So I think everything's sort of like, have what you need, watch out for excess up until you're in high profitability, I guess, so that you can give back to the business what it needs, and then it will take care of you again, etc., and such is the cycle, So I think, for me, that's how I'll part it, that like, it's the joint vision of everybody, from the business owner and everybody staying with that vision and that focus. And while we're in the depth of survival, let's remember that focus, and then remember to, take care of the business as much as it takes care of us.
Okay.
I think.
Wow. Wonderful. Nice one.
Thanks. Now I'm going to come up with this. No, I mean, everything that Leb was saying also, I mean, I very much resonate with. I think what I would want to impart is this, that business can get very tough, right? As Lebo said before, it's not linear.
Excuse me.
It can really go up and down, and you can get to some really dark moments. That's a reality. And I think that's also important for young entrepreneurs to hear, that it's not just this promised path and everything is going to fall into place and it's going to be easy. And I think what gets you through that, because obviously everyone always talks about perseverance, right? And believing in yourself, etc. But I think it's very important that you definitely need to be passionate, and you need to find your North Star, because in those moments that can also get very lonely. Entrepreneurship also can be a very lonely journey. You have to find something within yourself to carry on. And I think what's also very important, and that's a journey that I've been on, is to overcome your fears. To truly, when people say, you need to believe in yourself, you need to have faith. But a big part of that is actually to overcome your fears. Because once you do that, you can achieve amazing things. Because it is all about, everything starts in your mind, right? Everything that you create in the real world starts in your mind. So that's the first thing that you need to get right. And that's the thing that you need to continuously work on. And I think, just overcoming your fears, believing in yourself, and even in the darkest moments, finding ways out of that to strengthen yourself. May it be philosophy, may it be prayer. There's so many things, and there's not one thing that fits everybody, but it's something that I think we all need to figure out. And that mental strength can give you such focus to carry on and follow that passion and persevere. And that's really it. And I think once you find that, just soldier on. Pivot where you need to, but never give up on yourself and never give up on your business, because people depend on you. The future depends on entrepreneurship. Absolutely. Especially our continent. I think that's really it. Overcome your own fears, jump over your own shadow, and be great.
And these are the words we live by and give each other every day. So like it's just like always just
vibes.
you know, it's not vibes. It's not like everything is done. You know, like we have the normal business problems too. You know, we got cash flow issues. We got this. We got that. It's not all sun and roses. You know, like you know, days get dark. There's some great wins, and you know, there's some. You know, some losses along the way, and it's like, yo, you just manage and you fight. And this is not just like advice that we're giving out because we got it figured out. No, it's advice that we take in every day to fuel ourselves and hope that it fuels you. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah, when we list, maybe one day we'll be like, okay, you know, it's done. You know, but like, I mean, because even crazy story with Nike. If anyone hasn't read Shoe Dog, and I was with another entrepreneur who's built another business, and in his talk, he was just talking, and he says, "Yo, one of the greatest books you'll ever read is that," you know. And he's in a different space, you know, he's not even in apparel. And he was like, it's one of the greatest books any entrepreneur read. And it's just like, you know, literally Nike was always 2 days away from foreclosure, you know.
I love Shoe Dog.
Yeah, and it's just like one of those crazy, and you think of today's economy, we sit and we chill, but you hear of Uber like not being profitable, you know, like, and everything else, you know, but like listing, of course, saves things. And but it's just like, yo, it's no matter how big of an organization you think people are running, and you look at your situation, remember that like we are all here trying to just figure it out, right? And no matter how big you think the next guy is, he's in the same, you know, boat, you know, as you are, and everyone's learning. And we've seen major corporates and major banks and everybody, you know, open, close, you know, be starships and rocket ships, and you know, be humbled in the same breath. So and some of us will make it, some of us will stay the journey. That's why I think it's finding that balance in health and talking, and you know, all these things that we just try every day. You know, we listen to these podcasts when we're brushing our teeth, that because you know, you need the motivation, you know, daily to get up and go. So we're sitting here saying, yo, we're speaking to you, you're speaking to us, and we're all just people trying to figure it out and fighting the good fight every day, but looking towards prosperity and nothing else. You know, Victoria is certain is one of our slogans at Butan, that victory is certain. Victory is certain.
It's certain. Love it. That's it. What a parting shot. Yeah. So guys, I'll tag this gentleman on Instagram, so you can find them there, and their brand as well. And go to their website, get yourself a piece. They have amazing stuff, and we'll catch you next time. Cheers.
Peace out.
Yeah.
Yo.
We got it next. That's how you finesse. We come for they next. We come to collect. Did it all on my own, Went and brought it back home, Now they calling my phone, But I'm all in my zone. They not a threat. Tell them reset. When they're at their best, we still not impressed. Did it all on my own.